This Craftsman Truck 2025 Championship Odds edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
If there's one thing in life I love more than, well, I don't know, but it is talking racing things. It's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod, lost in his own thoughts Villagomez. And today we're here, Cody, because we're going to talk racing things. You ever start a sentence and then just think to yourself right in the middle of it, where am I going with this? That seems to be my day today.
Unfortunately, all too often, Rod. And a lot of times it happens on the show, and I'm just like, yeah, and then you realize halfway through and you're trying to improvise, but also make sure the words are still coming out of your mouth correctly. And it's a disaster in your head. So yes, I completely understand how you feel.
I'm circling, if not much over 1,000 episodes of my podcasting career in general. And I just sometimes wonder to myself, like, what am I doing? How is it that I'm still able to form thoughts? And days like today, I guess I can't. So we're here, though, in spite of this, to talk trucks, buddy. It's time to talk trucks. Cody, we have gotten odds for days on trucks and Xfinity. So,
now it's beautiful. They waited. They took the time. They got the Truck Series odds out finally, though, Rod. And in addition to that, props out the ass over on Caesars again. So, it's beautiful. Xfinity Series has a ton of props as well. So we were talking about it. We've only got, so I was just looking at the calendar a minute ago, Rod. We've got the rest of the shows this week, right? So today and tomorrow. We have next week's shows, and then we have one more week of the off season. And then it is time to prep for the clash at Bowman Gray. Like, that's how quick we are. So in essentially 3 weeks from yesterday, probably, we will be giving out our betting picks for the clash at Bowman Gray.
So we're both parents.
3 weeks, Rod. 3 weeks.
That's what I'm saying.
That is.
We're both parents, right? And we watched our kids grow up from tiny babies to what they are now, and it just feels like that. Like, we've watched this time just slip away, and now we're into the next season. So don't blink again, or we're going to be talking about Phoenix. And don't do that. Just stop. Stop while we're ahead.
Don't do that.
But again, we've got plenty to talk about. There's so many truck odds out there, so many Xfinity odds out there. We still have to get to the groups. We know you're going to wait patiently for that, but the championship groups that are out there for what, maybe we'll do that. We'll break the groups out on all three, and then we'll just sort of make them all their own episodes beforehand, or I don't know. Maybe we'll make them YouTube shorts. I don't know what we're going to do at this point, but we'll figure it out. There's more to talk about than there's time to talk about it. So let's make sure we start talking about it. But before we do, I want to tell you that the NFL playoffs are here. Make sure you tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast for all of the NFL picks and props. And I also would like to say that stay safe out there, bosses. I know LA right now is a tinderbox and everybody's on fire. So if you haven't gone to the Sports Gambling Podcast Network's Twitter yet and looked at the picture from our offices, that's some scary stuff out there.
Yeah, it is crazy. At Gambling Podcast over on the X, you could check that out. And good reason to listen to all of their shows as well, Rod. You never know when one of us might pop on. I was invited very last minute yesterday. Guest backed out, and I was put in as the relief guy. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We talked some playoff underdog best ball, drafted a couple of teams over there. So make sure you go check that episode out, and a little NFL talk. It's always fun to cut it up with the bosses. And yeah, man, their show, if you don't know, like if you haven't listened to their show, it's super entertaining. It's a great show. And like that's how I got to where we are today. I was just a listener of that show, and that's what's ended up coming into all of this. Now that was before they had any other shows, and it was just the main show. So it's definitely a great thing. Make sure you're listening to it.
Yep, Cody got the nod. They tapped the right arm and said, "Give us Cody. We want Cody." He's been warming up in the bullpen. So yeah, go check that out for sure. We can talk just other things other than NASCAR, folks. We're knowledgeable in other
fantasy football. Oh, that's besides NASCAR and racing. That's the next thing down my alley. So
that was my gateway. That was what got me in. They say that it's a gateway drug. Well, that was my gateway drug that got me into this whole world of where I'm at now. So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of which, we're here to speak of trucks, and of course, we know that there are.
Too far in. Should we cover a few more of these quick news stories, Rod?
Yes, we should, because Bob's been working hard, so we should give him some love.
Yes, there's been a ton of news. We talked about a few things yesterday, but figured a few more things today. By the way, shout out to Jessica. We knew that she would see the bat signal and get over here. She says, "Hey guys," and yes, trucks. Trucks is her favorite topic, yeah, it's also one of our favorite topics. So some interesting news while we're in the Truck Series podcast. I suppose we can talk about this. The Tricon #1 truck is going to remain the quote-unquote all-star race or truck this season. Brent Cruz is going to do 9 races in there. He's one of the guys kind of coming up through the late model scene right now. That's going to be a very interesting guy to keep an eye on. If we get some short tracks, like it doesn't say which ones of these races, and maybe they've announced separately, but I haven't seen it. Which tracks they're going to be at and stuff, but some short, flat tracks, Brent Cruz is going to be a name that we're probably going to talk about. Brandon Jones coming back to the Truck Series. Rod, let's go. He's going to run 7 races in the #1 truck. I'm excited for that. William Sawalich, to be announced how many races he's going to run, but he will run some races. Lawless Allen also going to jump in that one truck. So, yeah, I think we're going to have some good opportunities throughout the season to maybe bet on some of these guys at a little bit of a longer shot.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch these all-stars because, I mean, we've obviously watched Kyle Busch come down and do what he does. We've seen Kyle Larson come back. We've seen Byron come back, Bell come back, and Chastain. All these guys mixing it up with the young Truck Series guys. And I just think it's fun when you have that element. So it's good to see and good to hear that that's going to be a thing again. And like you said, I mean, we've been able to sort of cash in on some of these opportunities because when these guys come in these all-star trucks, we know that they're good, right? And we know that it's solid equipment that they're running in, and it's not, coming in to run a matchbox around the track for a while just to collect some ducats. So yeah, good to see them, and I'm excited to be able to start handicapping when they do pop up here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy I'm super, super excited about, Rod, Justin Bonsignor, 4-time NASCAR Wayland Modified Tour champion. 45 career wins to his name. He is going to be driving a couple of races in the Joe Gibbs Racing All-Star car, which is going to be the 19 car this season. So we're going to have opportunities to bet on him. Going to be very, very excited. Short, flat tracks. Again, being a modified guy, he's immediately going to possibly be in contention to win some of these races, depending on some of who else is in here as far as ringers. But very, very excited to talk about Justin Bonsignor this year. In the Xfinity Series, because I think that he's going to be a guy that very much going to be very interested in betting on, especially we sort of talked about it before, but I would say of all the seasons we've had lately, the weaker field at the top that we've kind of seen in the Xfinity Series for a while, and that's going to open up guys like Bonsignor when he comes in, and really when we've seen these guys that are elite talent levels come into JRM or some of these other top tier teams, they can immediately put out some pretty good results, and that's what I expect from Bonsignor as well.
I mean, we've seen from Carson Quapple, we've seen from all these guys,
Pollard, couple other guys that all jumped in just this past season, even, and immediately got top 5s right away, and we're in contention for wins. So I think that's going to be the case with Bonsignor as well.
Indeed. Yeah, excited. Again, so much excitement going on for this season with all of the changes that are happening. It's, if you haven't, I guess, if you're brand new to NASCAR and you haven't really paid attention much, this is a great season to get involved because you're learning just as much as we are. It's almost like a couple of years ago with the next gen car. It's like, this is a great time to get involved because we're all sort of learning together and we all don't know what's going to happen. And it's kind of the same way with this instance. I mean, granted, it's not this different car, but it's at least a bunch of different drivers and a bunch of new spots. So we all get to kind of learn together for that. And that can be said about this truck series because there has been several key departures in this and some arrivals that will have us, I guess, kind of running for the research barrel to try to figure out where we're going to land on them by the end of the season. So lots to get to in this truck series.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty excited to talk about it.
All right, well, then let's talk about it. But I would like to first take this opportunity to tell you about DraftKings playoffs. Talking playoffs? Well, we're talking championships, but playoffs in the NFL, and you bet we are. Get in on the action on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Look, football's not the only thing available on DraftKings Sportsbook. You can have some fun betting on anything up to and including esports. You like Call of Duty? I know you like playing, but do you like betting on it and making money? Well, if you do, there's a bunch of odds out for the minor tournament taking place this weekend. You want to bet on LA Gorillas, mate? They're taking on the Minnesota Rock, right? You can find them at +1.5 at -280, or you could take the Rock at +205. Atlanta FaZe, Miami Heretics. You could take -115 on either side of that. Look at so many odds out there to pay attention to. Vegas Falcons, up to Texas. It's fun. It's a blast. And then you get to watch kids play. I guess kids and adults play Call of Duty and try to win money off them. Download the the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SGP. That's code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right. So, and of course, if you want to get the rest of my favorite picks out of all that, in fact, my picks out of all that, go to my bio and in Twitter. I've got the whole slate up there for this weekend's Call of Duty League tournaments. A lot of fun.
Love it, Rob.
I'm telling you. Have you watched one?
I have not. It's something I need to do, and I'm gonna have a rooting interest after I read your articles and have something to bet on. And if it's something I can bet on, Rod, then there is no doubt it's something I will watch. And Rod is now fixing his computer. Everything good over there, buddy? Oh, now you're muted. You think you muted yourself. Oh boy. Rod's gonna be right back. So we're gonna go ahead and just sort of set this up, I guess. Truck Series Championship odds for the 2025 season. And yeah, we're just gonna, so interesting. I guess looking at this, you've got one heavy favorite at the top, Corey Heim, not really a shocker there. Sort of your top 5 guys are all, fairly, plus 850, I guess the biggest number. But after the 5th guy drops off almost twice the number, 16-1. And then, so it is very top heavy, but farther on down the list, there's definitely some long shots we're going to want to look at. So, Rod, welcome back to the show. Nice of you to join us.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I was just setting up, commenting on how interesting, sort of the odds are. You got Heim as the pretty heavy favorite, which we'll talk about in a sec, and then the top 5 kind of all right there, and then you sort of fall off of a cliff. So they really think that these 5 guys are going to be your championship runners at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, and again, we think about who are not in this mix anymore, right? And we think about a couple of years ago losing Carson Hocevar in this mix, and so every year you see the shakeup, but yet Corey Heim made such a gigantic statement this season that it's very difficult to give him anything other than what he's at. I mean, this is Max Verstappen type of respect when it comes to the odds.
The only issue is he hasn't won it, and that's the issue.
I know.
So, which is interesting because Corey Heim plus 250 at the top of the board here. Obviously, he should be the clear favorite. He's pretty well dominated the series. Now, Christian Eckes really had sort of a better season last year. Neither of them won the title of note. And that's the thing about this format is it makes it difficult. This to me feels a lot like Zane Smith, though. Zane Smith finished second in the championship 2 or 3 seasons in a row. Like he was the best car every year and like he should have got it done and he just couldn't get it done. And then he finally got one done and won the championship, and got it done. So that's what it sort of feels like. This should be Heim's time. But at plus 250, I just feel like this field is not the Truck Series is tougher than the Xfinity Series this season, in my opinion. And you've got these top 5 guys kind of grouped up here as the clear-cut favorites. Well, only 4 of them are going to make the championship 4, right? So one of them is going to be out. That's assuming somebody else doesn't sneak up there, which I think is very much a possibility. So it's really hard to lay a plus 250. Now, if you're a big Corey Heim fan and you want to bet it and you believe it's Heim time, I'm not going to say not to because he should be the clear favorite for a reason. The number's just not good enough for me to want to lay it. We're going to win plenty of money over the season, Rod, on betting Corey Heim, finding different ways to get in on him, top 3s, win races. If we can get his number category in there like we did so many times last year with Eckes, then we're going to have opportunities to make money on Heim throughout the season. Plus 250 on the future. It's just tough to swallow.
Well, and I can't really say because we're gonna make that on 1 or 2 races. So why would you want to sit and wait for an entire season for a plus 250 to hit when it's not necessarily? I mean, look, is he gonna win this championship? There, without Christian Eckes, without Taylor Gray, without
look at all these other names, like the names we're about to get into. It's going to be harder this year than it was last year, and he didn't do it last year. And he was the regular season champ 2 seasons ago. And he missed a race in there. Like that's how dominant the season was. Still didn't win the championship. And that's the problem in this format is not really a problem, but problem for when you're betting on it is it's not just to the best driver. Is Corey Heim going to have the best season? There's a pretty good chance that happens. But then he has to get to the Final 4 and get it done in that one race, which we haven't seen him do yet. Not that he's not capable, because he very much is. We just haven't seen it yet, and at only plus 250, it's not like he's dominated the season and won the last 2. Then maybe you're like, okay, let's talk about it some more, right? But number's just not big enough for me.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. That's exactly where I'm at too. I plus 250. There's other places that you can make way more money off of him, so I'm not really gonna worry about it there. 6 wins for Corey Heim last year, 14 top 5s, 18 top 10s, and 23 races. Like, yeah, he was dominant, but like you said, he couldn't get it done in the end. And really that's ultimately what we're looking at. It's not a who's the best regular season driver or bet. This is a championship driver bet. So when you finish second at Phoenix and you don't win the championship, that's where we're at.
So. If the Bucks are listening to this, Rod, which we know they are, how about a regular season champion bet?
Wasn't there?
I'd like to see that. I don't know that we've ever seen that. I know he had like the regular season matchups from I think ESPN Bet had that for the Cup Series. We talked about that earlier this offseason, but like I would like to be able to bet on regular season champion because I think that's so much more predictable and still not like it, easily predictable, but it is more predictable than the, with the playoff format and getting to the Final 4 and being the one guy at the top of the board at the end of the day. Now, you probably see Corey Heim be a pretty solid favorite there, but if you could have got a Christian Eckes last year, he obviously gets it done. AJ Allmendinger from a couple of years ago in Xfinity was a little bit of an upset. So you would have those opportunities. That's a market I'd love to see, in the future.
I agree. And I think everybody else would like that too. All right. Well, then Corey Heim, like we said, it's not that he can't do it. He probably will do it, but there's other opportunities for you to profit off of him over the course of the season. Don't wait forever for a championship ticket. Now, let's move on to the reigning champion, to the defending champion, Ty Majeski, plus 400 for him. I mean, he did it once. Jessica, sing us a song. You're the piano man. But yeah, I mean, he did it last year. Obviously, the first time he's done it. So, I mean, that take the pressure off and not necessarily, or does that make it to where he could do it again this year?
Yeah, I think it definitely opens up the possibility, obviously, right? He just did it. He's been in the championship 4 multiple times, so he's good at getting there. He is a short track guy. Like, we sort of see that be his strong suit. The championship race is still in Phoenix right now. I think all those things line up. He's on a championship winning organization. How many championships does ThorSport have? A shit ton, especially lately. Ben Rhodes just won a couple. He's won this one. Craftsman, I think, has won all 3 of his in ThorSport trucks. There's been other ThorSport wins in there. So the team is capable. He's capable. So we talk, we focus a lot on his bad luck, but really the guy has been pretty solid and he's done really well. And, we saw both bad luck guys get over the hump this past season, and Majeski and Allgaier are both claiming their championships, and both guys that have been around for a while. Majeski's not Allgaier type of been around in the truck series that long, but he's been around for a while, bounced around in Xfinity a little bit and back to the trucks. So yeah, very capable. 4-1. Again, I don't feel so confident in how good he can be to want to go run into the window at 4-1 with as much bad luck as he does kind of create for himself, as many mistakes as he makes. With that being said, he's a defending champion, so clearly he is a guy that can get it done.
Yeah, and for me, this is one of those renewed sort of, now they know they can do it. There's so much when you come that close to being the best
off your back.
Yeah, it's then it's like you say with wins, right? When the first win happens, all the wins, and so when that first championship happens, I mean, we don't always see it in NASCAR, especially.
Don't tell Daniel Hemrick, but
well, yeah, that guy, yeah. When he won his first championship, he was like, "All right, I'm going cup racing," and then he was like, "Oh shit, I'm going cup racing." But, yeah, no, look, to me, plus 400 still seems a little bit not the kind of number I'd like, but I will say that if you really think that this is the beginning of good things for Ty Majeski, this might be one you could sit on. And it's like, it's not better than plus 250 in a way, but it's still better. It's 4-1 for that one. So, all right.
Yeah, and for both of those guys too, we're going to have more conversation on them tomorrow. They're both a couple of the drivers that are listed for win totals. And I think those might be easier places to bet on them where you don't have to worry about getting to the Final Four and what happens in the Final Four. So yeah, I think those will be interesting conversations tomorrow.
I mean, you got to take out some variables sometimes. I mean, again, we know these championship odds are fun and they're fun to sweat the whole time. But like when we talk about responsible gambling and responsible betting, it's about eliminating a lot of the variables that can get in your way of cashing a bet.
And there's so much to be said for, sure, going into the season, you could just bet the Kansas City Chiefs, and yeah, they've won a lot of championships and they might win it again. But if you can find that team that's a little farther down, that's got just a little bit more value that can get it done too, and they end up getting there, it just, as a bettor, that's what I want more than I'll just bet the chalk, hope they win. Sometimes they do, but how many times do we not see the Super Bowl favorite at the beginning of the year be the one that gets it done? And it's the same story here because of the same reason, right? The playoffs are the playoffs, and everybody brings their best game to the playoffs, and sometimes it's better than your game is.
Ask anybody that bet the 49ers before the season started. They're not happy with their ticket right now. All right, let's move on to a newcomer who's not necessarily a newcomer, obviously. Chandler Smith going to be joining the Truck Series, as we know. 5-1 for Chandler Smith to come in and win this championship. I know we've talked about it off and on here as we kind of thumped our chest about Chandler Smith going to the trucks, and you were pretty much saying, all right, crown him now. So this is your opportunity to.
Is that what I said?
Kind of. The fact that he was coming to take over the Truck Series. So
no, I am very, very excited for him. He did finish third place in the championship just a couple seasons ago, back in 2022, when he was driving for Kyle Busch, I do believe, at that point in time. But 62 races over his Truck Series career. He's got 5 wins, 35 top 10s in those. But, Smith was a guy I was very excited for last season, getting into JGR equipment in the Xfinity Series. Here we go. Started out the season pretty good, right? Racked off some wins, and then things just sort of got disappointing, fizzled out near the end of the season, was sort of just sitting out there at the end of the year, and it was like, okay, what's going to happen? It's a lot. We're still sort of in that with Corey LaJoie now. Like the chairs are moving around, and there's not really any seats left. So what's he going to do? And Front Row went out of their way to create a seat for Chandler here and create that second truck, which they've run a second truck before, but not a full-time effort. I don't know if they've ever had a full-time 2 trucks. If they have, it's been a while since they have. But they obviously continue to expand their program in the Cup Series, now the Truck Series as well. And we saw how good Zane Smith was, dominating the Truck Series for years in that car. Prior to that, it was Todd Gilliland dominating the Truck Series in the 38. Riggs is the one that's in the 38, and Smith is going to be in the other truck. But we know this is a team that's capable. We know that Smith is a driver that's capable. So far of these favorites, Smith is the guy that I like the most. Heim, is at half the price, and so that's what's less sexy about that. Majeski, I have such a there's just certain guys you have a hard time getting on board with. Majeski's that guy for me, but I love Chandler Smith. I think that Chandler Smith is this year's Christian Eckes. I think that we're going to see a lot of the same results. He's going to be a guy that we're going to bet top 3, minus 110, 100 times throughout the season. It's going to hit 98 times. We're going to be happy about it. I really wish there was 100 truck races because that would be awesome. Fortunately, there's not quite that many, but you get my drift, Rod. He's going to have a really strong season. 5-1. This is the first one of the favorites. And actually, of this group of the top 4, this is my favorite bet and probably the first championship bet that I'm going to place is on Chandler Smith at 5-1.
Yeah, and for me, this is the where you start to feel comfortable as well. And it's not necessarily because I think that Chandler Smith is going to, like you said, come in and dominate. I don't think he's going to be the guy but I think you're right. I think he's going to put up a lot of a fight. He's got 5 truck season wins over the course of his career so far, 24 top 5s, 35 top 10s. He did have a 4th place finish at Talladega a couple of years ago. And he's only
really good at Phoenix too. Like he's won the Truck Series race there before. I believe he won in Colleague in the Xfinity Series in the Xfinity Series at Phoenix. So he's been really good at that track. So getting there, he's going to have a really good shot as well. And like shake this up, make Heim 5-1. Sure, yeah, absolutely, I'm on that. Make Majeski even 5-1. I'm going to consider it a little more. But yeah, this is where you're getting Smith at, and I think it's a good price. And he's the first guy I'm taking.
Yep, I'm definitely loving it too. And like you said, with his teammate, with his team, I think we're gonna be in for a show out of Chandler Smith. And think of it this way too. But Jessica saying 100% Cody wish there was more truck races. I know that's the way we work, but think about it this way too. I mean, Chandler Smith, we've seen guys like Cole Custer come back down, guys like AJ Allmendinger come back down, like these guys that for whatever reason something happens and they lose confidence or they get frustrated and they get along with their team anymore. And so they gotta come back down and they've got to just recollect themselves. This doesn't mean they're not a talented driver. It doesn't mean they can't get the job done. Something happened. And so I think with Chandler Smith, it's the same thing. He's a talented driver. He just needs to come back down, recollect himself, have some success in the Truck Series to remind himself that he's a quality driver and that, yes, he can do this at a higher level. And once he gets there, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and you see these guys that do take a step down and they're getting good equipment. Sometimes it's a step down and it's a sketchy equipment and that makes it tough on the guy. And they can elevate the equipment, but not only to a certain level. But yeah, I mean, John Hunter Nemechek, right? He made it all the way to the Cup Series, but he only ran a season there. But then he comes back down to trucks and he really does dominate. I don't think that we're going to get that level from Chandler Smith. I think there's still some questions about Chandler Smith that last year sort of brought up for sure. But he's a guy that can get it done. And we've seen him do well in the Truck Series. I think he's going to have a strong season, and he's the first guy I'm taking.
I concur. All right. Enough about Chandler Smith. You'll hear more about him over the course of the season and probably more about him tomorrow. So we'll do that. But in the meantime, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all of sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. Underdog Best Ball Playoff just as Cody said, is now live. The Gauntlet Tournament has $2 million in prizes up for grabs for just a $25 entry. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, esports, and more. You can also use specials and boost on all of your flexed entries. NFL playoffs are here. Going to be using my specials and boost on Ladd McConkey, the rookie receiver out of the Los Angeles Chargers way, the San Diego Superchargers. They're not there anymore. But anyways, I'm going to be using it on Ladd McConkey. 70.5 is his receiving yards total given to you by Underdog. Give me the higher. This dude is going to go nuts in his first playoff game. Chargers have something to prove. So does Justin Herbert with his many, many injuries. He's going to lean on his rookie to get the job done. So 70.5 receiving yards. Give me the higher then on that one. You can sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. It's underdogfantasy.com. Promo code RACESGPN.
Couple of things on Underdog, Rod. Make sure you go and listen to the Sports Gambling Podcast after this. I was on last night when that show's already up posted, and we did Underdog best ball drafts. So that's another fun thing that you can do on Underdog. And then later this evening, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, I'm going to have an article out for the college football playoff semifinal games with all of my – I'm doing one pick, but there's 4 teams left, right? So you're going to have one player from each of the 4 teams. That article's in the works now. It'll be posted later this evening. Not to toot my own horn too much, Rod, but I did the article in the quarterfinal round, gave out 4 plays. One guy ended up being a scratch. He didn't play, so that play was just dropped off. But the other 3 all hit. And, I used that money to enter those best ball drafts last night, which was nice.
Gotta love when you just roll over the investment. You just keep it going. Like that's how this works.
That's how it works. You do it until you hit the big one, and that's what we're going for.
Indeed. But I have a question for you. Are there any Boise State players available in this Underdog pick'em pool?
Let's see. Boise State eliminated, Rod. I think they're actually in the same place that Fresno State is, if you're wondering.
Take that stupid blue turf and just roll all over it. I don't okay. I know Fresno State's been there already, and they lost in an embarrassing fashion in a bowl game. But as long as Boise State's out, the world is good again. Speaking of which, how about the Atlantic Conference kicking ass in the bowl count, man? They've only got 1 loss so far in the entire bowl. That's
pretty good.
Go it, American. Oof, love it.
Nebraska won their first bowl game since like 2015, so I'm happy.
See? Let's see. I hope that's water in there, Rod. Rod,
it's unlikely, but
hold on. I want to give a big shout out to our buddies over at Old Fashioned Football, Justin and Miranda. This is my prize, a Keeper's Heart bottle of whiskey, Irish, and bourbon made out to the 2024 OFF Fantasy Football winner.
I'm a little salty. If you don't know, I won that league last year. I got the same bottle, but mine was not personalized, which was unfortunate. But
it's all right. They like you better, and that's fine. Guess what's going in this?
Rod's gonna top off the Keeper's Heart. All right, Rod. I'm very disappointed with this next guy on the list. And it's not because I'm disappointed in him. I'm disappointed in the number, Rod. And this is the proof.
You're just mad that the books paid attention.
That's all. Yes, this is the proof that they listened to us, which is highly unfortunate in some cases.
Lane Riggs, plus 550, Cody, to win the championship.
This was going to be the guy. I was hoping for 10-1. We were going to fucking hammer this. So excited. I am so pumped for Lane Riggs. I haven't looked at all the win totals. Is he on the win totals, Rod? Because
I haven't looked at
he
one
is.
thing at a time, Cody. My brain only
one thing at a time. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I'm going to be very excited to spoiler alert, talk about Lane Riggs tomorrow on the win total show. Man, plus 550 makes this really tough. You're getting Chandler Smith at plus 500. If you want to Ty Majeski at plus 400, you just feel more confident in those guys than you do Lane Riggs at this number. Now, Lane Riggs could easily be the champion at the end of the season. I am very, very high on Riggs this season and very, very excited. We're going to be betting on him a lot. We already won a lot of money on him last year. Very pumped for Riggs. But at this number, it's really tough to be able to bet him to be the champion. I suppose that he's a guy that you could probably highlight and sort of earmark for if he struggles at some point during the season, which opening the season with some. I believe that the trucks are also doing both the super speedway races. Maybe those don't go his way at Daytona and Atlanta. And maybe that sways his odds. They are opening with Daytona and Atlanta. So you get too early. Then you have Las Vegas and Homestead. You could definitely make a case where the first 4 races don't go his way. And that number drops. That's where you're going to want to jump on it before they go to a place like Martinsville, Bristol. Those are places he's going to be really good. So yeah, overall, I'm very excited for Lane Riggs this season. I think he's going to have a stellar season. I think he could be the champion, but at this price, absolutely cannot bet it right now.
Yeah, it's tough because you look at, he just had his first full-time season in the Cup Series, his first year driving that 38 full-time. What did I say?
Cup.
The Cup.
He's not there yet, Rod. We give him a few years.
Boy, this keeper's heart sure getting to me already, isn't it? No, he just had his first full-time Truck Series season, right, in that 38. So can he instantly jump up to the level of championship? He'll be in the conversation, obviously, all season long. But like it's tough to say in his second full-time season that he's going to beat a Corey Heim and that he's going to beat a Chandler Smith.
See, I think in the Truck Series that matters less. Like second full-time season in the Cup Series, it's going to be pretty hard to contend. But in the Truck Series, these guys, you see it, and you even see the rookies, and we talked about that in the Xfinity Series. Rookies can win the titles. So I'm less concerned about that. And he held his own, and you saw him like he had the best playoffs out of anyone. Now he wasn't in the playoffs, so it didn't matter as far as the championship part goes. But you love how he finished the season, got that first win, and then what happened, Rod? The floodgates open. He won the next week, right? So he's already got 2 under his belt. It's going to be a strong season from Riggs. We're going to be betting on him a lot when it comes to the short flat tracks because that's where he's great at. Oh, guess what? Phoenix, the short flat track. So you love that. But yeah, this is definitely the one I'm most disappointed in because I was really hoping for a bigger number, but I'm just having a hard time pulling the trigger at only plus 550.
Yeah, down the stretch, you're right. He was clutch. 5th at IRP, 5th at Richmond, 1st at Milwaukee, 1st at Bristol, 2nd at Kansas. Bad day at Talladega. We throw that out. 22nd at Homestead, but 6th at Martinsville, 10th at Phoenix to close out the year. We'll definitely be talking a lot about Lane Riggs over the course of the year, so keep that in mind. But yeah, plus 550, still a little bit disappointing. All right, Grant Enfinger plus 850. This is kind of this is where the when the slope starts to slope and you're just getting to the edge of that slope, this is where it starts to slope. So
it's
plus
like the roller coaster where it says this is the point of no return before it just drops.
Where you hear the last click, 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 click,
yep.
And you're about to drop.
This is that last click.
Grant Enfinger finished 4th in the championship standings last year. 2 wins, 8 top 5s, 13 top 10s. We had higher hopes for him. We really did. We thought for sure that Grant Enfinger was going to be a bigger part of the season. Obviously, changing teams as it were, right? And kind of a new home. But are we going to expect anything bigger out of him this season?
How do you not expect great things out of Enfinger? I mean, it was great at GMS, and then it's like, boy, he supposedly had offers to go to better teams, but he picks a CR7 team. They've never done anything. And then, we talked about it early in the season. We were careful. We didn't know what to expect. We saw they couldn't get it done, and then they started getting it done, and they got it done. I mean, they were in the championship 4, had a shot at winning the title there. Enfinger's a guy you can never count out. He is the grizzled veteran. He's the guy that's been there. I don't think he's won a championship yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's the Justin Allgaier that gets it done next year, right? Really good short flat guy. Seems like there's a lot of those in the Truck Series. But this is another one of those guys very good at Phoenix. Plus 850, you definitely have to take a hard look at Grant Enfinger. And again, comparing that to Lane Riggs at plus 550, I'd rather have the Enfinger here at a little bit of a bigger number. So the problem is these next about 6 guys I'm all going to want to bet on, Rod, which I think is good to the point of why you got to be hesitant on Heim at plus 250 and Majeski at 4-1, because there's a lot of attractive things coming up, especially as these numbers start to get bigger. But yeah, Enfinger plus 850, you definitely have to take a hard look at because he's a guy that can get it done.
Runner-up in 2023. He does have an ARCA Menards championship under his belt in 2015. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, look, consistently in the top 10 for the most part in championship standings since the 2018 season. And so, yeah, you got to take a good hard look at him because he's going to be around the championship 4. He's going to be knocking on the championship door. So I think this is a pretty good solid. I mean, you talked about his season last year, right? He ripped off wins at Talladega and Homestead back-to-back, finished 9th at Martinsville, 5th at Phoenix, 4th at Richmond, 3rd at IRP, runner-up at Pocono, 6th at Nashville, 3rd at Charlotte, 2nd at North Wilkesboro. I mean, you're right. We were worried for a while, and then he turned around and was like, don't be worried about me. I'm good. I just needed to get myself adjusted to the current situation. So definitely good for Grant Enfinger. I'm not going to mention this next guy. I will, but just to have you kind of pass over it. Ready? Daniel Hemrick at 16-1.
No. What?
All right.
Can we pass? I don't think we can pass over this, Rod. So here's the thing. Daniel Hemrick is a guy that's caught a lot of shade on this show for many years because for a long time, he was the guy who just couldn't get it done. He was in the Gibbs equipment, very good equipment, could not win. He was worse than Sheldon. Well, actually, Sheldon Creed's become worse than he was, but just like second place every week, all the time, couldn't get it done. Then he gets to the championship race, doors Austin Cindric as they come to the line, wins the championship, the only NASCAR race he's ever won as far as the top 3 series go, and he's never been back to victory lane. He's never been close to winning again. Goes to the Cup Series, so there, loses the Cup Series ride, and, well, we just talked about this, Rod. Now you have a seasoned guy, Xfinity Series champion, a guy who spent multiple seasons in the Cup Series, coming back to the Xfinity Series, or to the Truck Series. We've seen this story before, right? Oh, and what truck are you going to put him in? Arguably the best truck last year that won the regular season championship, led laps in all but 2 races on the season. He's going to be in the 19 truck replacing Christian Eckes. And they're not really respecting him at 16-1. I know it's Daniel Hemrick, Rod, and I know there's been points in times where we've not even said his name on the show. But how do you not bet him here at this price in that good of a truck as an experienced guy, a champion of the Xfinity Series and a Cup Series in multiple years, coming back down to the Truck Series? You have to take this at 16-1, and never thought I would hear myself making an argument for Daniel Hemrick championship. You probably didn't either. But here we are, and I think that you have to take it.
No one had that on their bingo cards. Nobody had that on their
I didn't even have it on my own bingo card, Ron.
I would like for anybody that has a bingo to please come to the front of the auditorium so I can mark off the cards, because that was the last one. Everybody was waiting for that one on that one. So, all right, listen, I will say that the 19 truck makes this very attractive because we know how good it was. We know how in competition every week it was for a win. It was battling Corey Heim every second of every day. So, yes, that makes it attractive. And I think if we're talking about spots where he's going to win races, I'll take it. I don't know.
This is the true test for what is Daniel Hemrick.
There you go.
Because
yes,
he's always been a guy in a way that sort of got rides because he's got a lot of funding behind him. You know, we see that, like, people are like, well, what did Corey LaJoie do? Why can't he find a ride? Like, he just doesn't have a ton of funding behind him, and that's the thing. But you've got guys like Daniel Hemrick that he's got money coming out the ass, and people love this. And he seems like a really great guy and puts on a good face for your company and stuff like that. And he's got a lot of supporters. So, you know, we saw the Xfinity stint with JGR, and he couldn't win, but he still found his way there, gets the championship. Now, after going to the Cup Series, has all that experience, you drop all the way back down, you're in an elite truck. I mean, I don't know if his win total's on there. I haven't looked yet, but he should win 4 or 5, 6 races this year. Like, if you're thinking about the position he's in, the experience he has, the talent that we have seen, and as good of a truck that he's going to be in. And yeah, TK saying, does he point his way into the playoffs or does he win a race? He'll point his way into the playoffs easily, but I think he has to win. That's the question, right? And I hope that he does have a win total. Again, I haven't looked through all of them, but because I think that's going to be an interesting conversation, because in this position, being who he is with the experience he has, he should be winning 4 or 5 or 6 races, but can he do it? We've never seen it outside of the one time where he came in the most clutch. If you got to pick one moment in your career to be clutch, that's the moment, right? But that's where I'm really interested to see, does he have it in him? And at 16-1, you could look back and be like, we could be talking going into Phoenix, holding this ticket, Rod, and be like, holy shit, can you believe we got this guy that won 6 races, was the runner-up in the regular season, challenged Corey Heim all year. Like, and we could also be like, the fuck did we bet on Daniel Hemrick? That's the thing. But at 16-1, I think that's a gamble you have to take.
Yeah, it is definitely called gambling for a reason. But I will say, look, with Christian Eckes, he won 4 races last year. So that's at least 4 races that 19 truck crossed the finish line. I think he can get 1 or 2 of those done. So yeah, I'll definitely be interested to see what the win total is on him, if there is one at all. All right, we spent a lot of time on Daniel Hemrick. Let's continue down this line. Caden Honeycutt, here's where the cliff starts to get a little steeper. Caden Honeycutt, 20-1. Is there anything there, Cody?
Oh, I'm so excited for Caden Honeycutt, Rod. I told you this group right here, like you're going to have in this kind of between Hemrick, Honeycutt, these next couple guys, one of these guys for sure, if not 2, are going to make the championship 4. You got to pick the right ones to bet on and have that ticket while you're there. Honeycutt's going full-time in the 45 truck this year. We saw really good runs out of him last year. Kansas specifically stands out. I think he had top 5s in both of those runs. Some other really good spots. Late model guy, and he's an up-and-comer, right? So 20-1, I think you're definitely pausing and thinking, okay, we could place this. Now, again, are we picking one guy out of this group, 2 guys out of this group? Hemrick, I think you have to bet on because the elite talent. God, did I just call Hemrick an elite talent? But it's there. Like it.
Blink twice, Cody. Blink twice.
I promise I'm not being held hostage by Daniel Hemrick fans. But I think you have to bet on Hemrick. Honeycutt, I'm definitely considering betting at this number because I think that we're going to see a really strong season out of Honeycutt. Now, is he a champion guy in his first year? Nice, the trucks are good. Are they championship level? I mean, we've seen Chastain in them. We've seen Hocevar in them. Neither of those guys won championships. So I think he could definitely be competing for some wins. Maybe he gets there. I don't know that he can quite win the championship yet this season. So I'm going to pass on Honeycutt, but he is an interesting conversation at 20-1.
Of the 2, I would pick Daniel Hemrick, not Caden Honeycutt, because again, 14 races for him last year, 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s. I mean, he's going to be in the mix. He's going to be in the conversation for a lot of, top 3 bets, top 5 bets, but I'm not crowning him a champion this season, especially even at 20-1 when there's Ben Rhodes sitting at 20-1 as well. Ben Rhodes, we know, one of those guys that just,
how do you not
put him there, right? How do you put him there?
So let me pull up Ben Rhodes. I feel like, when did he win his championships? So he won in 21 and 23, Rod. I don't know if Ben Rhodes reminds you of any Cup Series drivers at all. There's one guy that he reminds me of. Now I'm starting to see a pattern here of Ben Rhodes winning championships in odd-numbered years. And he's also the most comparable guy in the world to Joey Logano.
I was going to say, is he the
saying
of Logano? Is that
there is a trend where, because Ben Rhodes, much like Joey Logano, the most unpredictable truck guy in the field, where he's really good and he can get it done for you at any point, and he could also be battling with 23rd place as hard as possible at any given point, and you're like, well, what the fuck's going on? But then he's always in the mix at the end of the day. Oh, by the way, Rich Luscious is back to be his crew chief, and we'll see if that lasts because they've been crew chief and uncrew chiefed 47 different times before, but they're back together. It's an odd year. It's 20-1. You gotta bet on Ben Rhodes here because, look, it's not ever sexy. He's not going to go win 5 or 6 races, but we're going to get to a point where it's like, oh, here's Ben Rhodes. He slipped into the next round. Oh, shit, how'd Ben Rhodes get it? We're in the Final Four. We got all these stars, and Ben Rhodes, what are you doing over there? And he's going to win the championship again, and you're going to be like, holy shit. You have to bet Ben Rhodes at this number. I don't see how you can't bet it.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. This is the one. This is probably the one that I have a star, the little heart emojis after, because look, he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't have to win. He won 2 races in his first title run in 2021. He only won 1 race, and it wasn't even Phoenix in his 2023. Yeah. He finished 5th in Phoenix and still won the title.
The Truck Series, most specifically, and we've even seen it in the Cup Series now a couple of years ago. You do not have to win that race, and really, Rhodes should have won 3 in a row, Rod, because in 2022, he was leading the championship race when Ty Majeski, his teammate, got turned with like 5 laps to go or something, and it shook up the whole order. And I believe that was the year Zane Smith ends up winning. But Ben Rhodes was on his way. He could have been 3 in a row. So, yeah, you have to bet Ben Rhodes at this number because he's good enough to get it done. And also he could just not show up too, but he can get it done. And he's done it multiple times. And he's always been the underdog. It's never been, he hasn't changed trucks. He hasn't changed teams, nothing. He just continues to find a way to get it done. And at this number, you have to bet Ben Rhodes.
Odd year Ben Rhodes, baby. Let's ride that narrative.
Here we discover a new trend, Rod. We might have.
We may have unearthed an odd year. Well, so we know that odd year Joey Logano is off limits, but odd year Ben Rhodes.
Yeah, if this show ever goes away, just know you bet Ben Rhodes 1 year, Joey Logano the next, and just rotate until they both retire, and you'll be rich.
Just keep going on that one. All right, a couple more before we just kind of open the floor up. Raja Karuth, 22-1. I mean, look, we know that he came on in spurts last year, and can this team put together enough to make a championship run, though? That's the question.
Yeah, I think that is the question. Obviously, we're going to forever love Caruth because he hit an 80-1 for us last year at Las Vegas. 22-1 for him to win the championship now. I think that's a fair number. I think this is a good group for him to be in. I think he's much like these other guys, capable of getting it done. If you stack him up against Caden Honeycutt, how do you not pick Caruth if you're picking between those two guys? I think would be a good way to look at that. Certainly a guy that can get it done. Again, Hemrick, Rhodes, those are the guys I'm taking in this group. But Caruth is another guy where you have to pause. You have to consider it at 22-1. And just another reason that makes me like a Heim at plus 250 less, because you've got guys like Caruth that can jump up and have a strong season and continue. Look, this guy doesn't have Rick Hendrick supporting him basically the whole season because he's a chump. Like, he's got talent and he's good. And if anybody knows how to find it, it's Rick Hendrick. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of the guys that have driven for him. But, yeah, so I think that, again, Caruth, another guy that can get it done. I'm picking other guys in this group at this number, but a guy that you should definitely be worried about.
Finished 7th in the standings last year, 12 top 10 finishes, 5 top 5s in that win at Las Vegas. But impressive down the stretch. 3rd at Bristol, 7th at Kansas, 4th at Talladega, 8th at Homestead. Fell off a cliff there at the end of it, 31st in Martinsville and 13th in Phoenix, but, good start to a season as well. 3rd place at Daytona, 8th at Atlanta, 1 Vegas, 8th at Bristol, 7th at Martinsville. He's going to be consistent. He's going to be in the mix. He'll be around the championship conversation. He'll definitely be in the playoffs. So we'll just see how far that carries him. But, yeah, 22-1, pretty good number. I still like Ben Rhodes better, though, at 20-1. All right, Tyler Ankrum. We know how high I was on him a lot last season. He's 25-1 to win the championship. He finished 8th in the standings, didn't have a win, but 6 top 5s, 12 top 10s over the course of the year. I just don't know that I trust this 18 team to win a championship. Do I pick for titles? Sure. Or for wins? Yeah, but maybe not championships.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bigger question is, can he win a race?
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a championship type of guy. He's in a good truck. It's, the same thing that Eckes had last year that Hemrick's going to have this season. But again, as far as this group is concerned, I would take all of these guys. I would bet Caruth over him. I would bet Honeycutt over him. Rhodes, obviously, and Hemrick, obviously, as well. And I don't feel like Ankrum is really much of a contender. I'd rather have some long shots and some of these longer shot guys than Ankrum. So I'm out on Ankrum.
Yeah, the one career win for Ankrum came in Kentucky in the 2019 season. So since then, he has yet to win another race. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough to not do that, to not win races and to win championships. So, all right, listen, we're at 60-1 now. I don't know how many more guys you want to talk about, but
I think that let's start at Chase Purdy at 60-1. I think that there's a conversation could be had about Chase Purdy, right? We saw some really good runs by Chase Purdy last year. He's in the same equipment at Spire that Raja Caruth is at. I was trying to pull up his race results here. So he had, like 3rd place at Martinsville, actually in both races, some good runs there. Short tracks, of course. 6th at Darlington, 6th at Gateway, 6th at Pocono. again, could he win the championship? I think you'd have to see a massive step. Chase Purdy, Rod, could be this year's Raja Karuth, where we find a spot that he's a long shot and he shows up and cashes his bet to win a race. 60-1 for the championship. I think he's shown some strides, but can he win the title? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't want to even try to entertain that. I mean, his highest finish so far in the championship standings is 11th a couple of seasons ago. So it would take a massive improvement for him to do it, which is why he's 60-1. Stuart Friesen, 75-1, along with Tanner Gray and Matt Crafton. I mean, Matt Crafton, I don't know that he's ever going to get it done again, but look, it's fun at 75-1 to hope and pray that someday Matt Crafton turns it around again.
3-time champion. Maybe he could get it done, but why'd you skip over our favorite Canadian, Rod?
I didn't. I said Stuart Friesen at 75-1. I'm not entertaining a champ. Are you?
No. Yes, absolutely. Stuart Friesen at 75-1. Look,
right.
This is like Kyle Busch, Rod. Last year, things maybe didn't go as great as we had hoped, but we still saw it. The fire's still there. The just pure race car driver is still there. You're telling me at 75-1, he couldn't find his way into the Final Four, and now one of the guys you've got in there is at 75-1, and more so in the trucks, really in all the series. If you make it to the Final Four, you've got a legit shot to win. Even more so in the truck series, because it's the truck series, and there's some unpredictability that comes with it. You absolutely, if you give me one long shot and I have to bet, it's Stuart Friesen.
You know, the only reason I pause is because you look back at 12th place last year, 12th the year before that, 6th, 15th, 4th, 7th, 14th, 33rd. There hasn't been, I mean, as much as we love him, as much as we love what's going on, he's only got one race win since 2020. Like he's in 3 in general. If we're poo-pooing Tyler Ankrum for the one win that he's had,
not compare Tyler Ankrum and Stuart Friesen.
I'm just reading the numbers, Cody. I'm just reading the numbers. If we're going to say that that's what we're basing it on, then I'm not. Again, I love Stuart. I will have Molson with him all day long. We'll eat poutine until we're blue in the face. Labatt blue in the face. But I'm just not on it. I'm sorry, Stuart. I love you, but
I will be betting Stuart Friesen at 75-1. I think that as far as long shots are concerned, he's a guy that you could easily paint a path for him to get there. And if he gets there, if you give him a ticket, you give Matt Crafton a ticket, you give Connor Mosack a ticket, you give any of these long shots a ticket, like which one do you feel the most confident in going into Phoenix? It's got to be Stewart.
It's Jack Wood, and there's no 250-1, and that's it. All right. So listen, do you want to entertain Tanner Gray? Do you want to paint a picture for Tanner Gray?
No, not really.
Tanner and Taylor were like tearing it up last season. How can you not make a case for Tanner Gray at 75? Just kidding. Don't do it. This is my.
No. I would rather have. Stuart Friesen.
All right. You know what? Me too, though. Between the two, I would definitely rather have. If you told me I could only pick one of those two, I would pick Stuart Friesen for sure. Obviously, Matt Crafton, we just said 3-time champion. If you want to have a sweat, that's a hell of a sweat to have.
Yeah, I mean, he Crafton would probably be like the second guy I would say, if you won a ticket, he could find his way. He could be the guy that wins the championship without winning a race.
Yep. I agree with you on that one as well. All right. Then Connor Mosack, 100-1.
No.
Gio Ruggiero, 100-1.
Ruggiero is interesting at 100-1. Very talented young driver. He's going to be replacing Taylor Gray in the 17 truck. If you're looking for a long shot guy, unpredictable. We don't really know what we're getting. We haven't seen him really making. I don't think he's made any truck starts yet. So you're just kind of throwing a dart out there. Maybe you hit on a guy. You could do it for sure.
All right, Spencer Boyd, 500-1.
To win at Talladega or Daytona, yes, please. Outside of that, no. Jake Garcia's 250-1, Ron. Remember when I made a case for him to be the champion last year?
I remember that.
Maybe I was just a year late. Probably not. Garcia might be like one of my, we'll see. Maybe this is the year. Maybe I was just late, but might be one of the biggest misses I've ever had for predicting a guy was going to be good. Because my goodness, he has been fucking horrible so far.
Yeah, I think that's where I draw the line. We're done.
We're done.
Don't need to talk about anybody else unless you want Matt Mills. And
Shout out to Frankie Muniz, 500-1. Malcolm in the middle. He will be full-time this season in the Truck Series. He's not going to win the championship. So just to recap, Rod, Chandler Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Ben Rhodes, and Grant Enfinger. Those and Stuart Friesen for my long shot.
I was about to say, don't forget Stuart Friesen. You left him off.
Don't forget about Stewie.
Beautiful. All right, let's come back tomorrow and reconvene and talk about some win totals, shall we, Cody? That's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's do it, Rod. In the meantime, follow me over on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all of my stuff there. YouTube, big push as we get closer to the Daytona 500. It's going to help the show out a ton if we can keep growing. We just crossed 700 subscribers, so thank you to everybody who's already subscribed. If you're not, pop over there, click the subscribe button. You can catch these live shows, which is great sometimes if you want to. You don't ever have to watch. We don't really care either way. Just subscribe. Helps us out a super ton. Listen, we're in the off season. You're listening to a Truck Series race, an hour into it. Hit the subscribe button. That's the least you can do for us, right? We don't charge you for any of this. So we appreciate it. Thank you guys for that. And back tomorrow. More Truck Series talk, win totals. Let's go.
Indeed. Yeah, if you told me back in my old days that 7 people would be interested in anything I have to say, I tell you you're crazy, but to have 700 people just loving it, hey, I love it. I love you. All right. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in about everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it is in between media, where I'll be talking NASCAR very shortly with Seth and Elliott. But yeah, and then of course there's a link in the bio where you can get deeper into the weeds. Esports, did I say? I said esports. There's going to be some hurling up there soon. Get to know hurling as a sport. A lot of fun to have. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow talking win totals for the Truck Series. And until then, let's go racing and let it ride.